I will fight back against so-called right to work. Right to work is wrong for workers and wrong for America.
Well, I think right to work is a good thing. I think right to work is happening more and more.
And I will work as hard as I can to raise the minimum wage. I always have. I supported that when I was in the Senate. But what I have also said is that we've got to be smart about it, just the way Governor Cuomo was here in New York. If you look at it, we moved more quickly to 15 in New York City, more deliberately toward 1250 upstate, then to 15. That is exactly my position. It's a model for the nation.
Sympathetic to the protesters' cause, since a $15 wage works out to about $31,000 a year.
I can't be, Neil, and the reason I can't be is that we are a country that is being beaten on every front, economically, militarily. There is nothing that we do now to win. We don't win anymore. Our taxes are too high. I've come up with a tax plan that many, many people like very much. It's going to be a tremendous plan. I think it'll make our country and our economy very dynamic. But taxes too high, wages too high. We're not going to be able to compete against the world. I hate to say it, but we have to leave it the way it is. People have to go out, they have to work really hard, and they have to get into that upper stratum. But we cannot do this if we are going to compete with the rest of the world. We just can't do it.
So do not raise the minimum wage.
I would not raise the minimum.
And we will also transform the way we prepare our young people for those jobs. Bernie Sanders and I will work together to make college tuition free for the middle class and debt free for all.
So we're getting rid of Common Core. We're taking Common Core. It's going to be gone. There won't be education from Washington, D.C. There'll be education locally, the love of parents, the love of these people that love their children and they're in the area. That's what we're going to do. We'll have school boards and we'll have local. We're not going to have it through Washington. So Common Core is dead, and we're going to take education and we're going to make it local. We'll save money. Our education will be much better. Do you know, in the world today, we're ranked number 30. Number 30. So we're at the bottom of the list, and yet per pupil, we pay the most. You look at other countries, Denmark, Sweden, China, Norway. These are countries that are right at the top, and they spend much less money than us. So we're going local. It's going to be great, and we're going to spend less money, and we're going to move up that list very, very rapidly.
Well, I think Donald was about to say he's going to solve it by repealing it and getting rid of the Affordable Care Act. And I'm going to fix it, because I agree with you. Premiums have gotten too high, co-pays, deductibles, prescription drug costs. And I've laid out a series of actions that we can take to try to get those costs down. But here's what I don't want people to forget when we're talking about reining in the costs, which has to be the highest priority of the next president. When the Affordable Care Act passed, it wasn't just that 20 million people got insurance who didn't have it before, but that in and of itself was a good thing. I meet these people all the time, and they tell me what a difference having that insurance meant to them and their families. But everybody else, the 170 million of us who get health insurance through our employers, got big benefits. Number one, insurance companies can't deny you coverage because of a pre-existing condition. Number two, no lifetime limits, which is a big deal if you have serious health problems. Number three, women can't be charged more than men for our health insurance, which is the way it used to be before the Affordable Care Act. Number four, if you're under 26 and your parents have a policy, you can be on that policy until the age of 26, something that didn't happen before. So I want very much to save what works and is good about the Affordable Care Act. But we've got to get costs down. We've got to provide some additional help to small businesses so that they can afford to provide health insurance. But if we repeal it, as Donald has proposed, and start over again, all of those benefits I just mentioned are lost to everybody, not just people who get their health insurance on the exchange. and then we would have to start all over again. Right now, we are at 90% health insurance coverage. That's the highest we've ever been in our country.
Secretary Clinton,
so I
your time's
want us
up.
to get to 100%, but get costs down and keep quality up.
Mr. Trump, you have 2 minutes.
It is such a great question, and it's maybe the question I get almost more than anything else outside of defense. Obamacare is a disaster. You know it. We all know it. It's going up at numbers that nobody's ever seen worldwide. Nobody's ever seen numbers like this for health care. It's only getting worse. In 17, it implodes by itself. Their method of fixing it is to go back and ask Congress for more money, more and more money. And we have right now almost $20 trillion in debt. Obamacare will never work. It's very bad health insurance, far too expensive. And not only expensive for the person that has it, unbelievably expensive for our country. It's going to be one of the biggest line items very shortly. We have to repeal it and replace it with something absolutely much less expensive and something that works, where your plan can actually be tailored. We have to get rid of the lines around the state, artificial lines, where we stop insurance companies from coming in and competing because they wanted, President Obama and whoever was working on it, they want to leave those lines because that gives the insurance companies essentially monopolies. We want competition. You will have the finest health care plan there is. She wants to go to a single-payer plan, which would be a disaster, somewhat similar to Canada. And if you ever notice, the Canadians, when they need a big operation, when something happens, they come into the United States in many cases because their system is so slow. It's catastrophic in certain ways. But she wants to go to single payer, which means the government basically rules everything. Hillary Clinton has been after this for years. Obamacare was the first step. Obamacare is a total disaster. And not only are your rates going up by numbers that nobody's ever believed, but your deductibles are going up, so that unless you get hit by a truck, you're never going to be able to use it.
Mr. Trump,
it is a disastrous plan, and it has to be repealed and replaced.
We are a big-hearted country, and we should never forget that, and we shouldn't let anybody on the public stage say that we are mean-spirited, that we are going to build walls mentally and physically, that we're going to shut doors, and we're going to lose the talents and the contributions of millions of people who are here doing the best they can, building lives for themselves and their children. At its heart, this is a family issue. If we say that we support families in this country, then that has to mean something. I want to put an end to families being torn apart or hardworking, law-abiding parents having to prepare their kids for the day that mom or dad might be taken away. That's why I still passionately support comprehensive immigration reform legislation with a path to full and equal citizenship. I will work to expand fee waivers so more people seeking naturalization can get a break on the costs. I will increase access to language programs to help people boost their English proficiency. I will enhance outreach and education so more people know their options and are engaged in the process.
Are you ready? We will build a great wall along the southern border, and Mexico will pay for the wall. On day one, we will begin working on an impenetrable, physical, tall, powerful, beautiful southern border wall. After meeting with their wonderful, wonderful president today, I really believe they want to solve this problem along with us, and I'm sure they will. I am going to create a new special deportation task force focused on identifying and quickly removing the most dangerous criminal, illegal immigrants in America who have evaded justice, just like Hillary Clinton has evaded justice, okay? We are going to suspend the issuance of visas to any place where adequate screening cannot occur. I call it extreme vetting, right? Extreme vetting. I want extreme. It's going to be so tough. And if somebody comes in, that's fine, but they're going to be good. It's extreme. Countries from which immigration will be suspended would include places like Syria and Libya. Another reform involves new screening tests for all applicants that include, and this is so important, especially if you get the right people, and we will get the right people, an ideological certification to make sure that those we are admitting to our country share our values and love our people.
Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton clash over most policy issues, including taxes.
See, I understand the tax code better than anybody that's ever run for president.
And it is sort of amusing to hear somebody who hasn't paid federal income taxes in maybe 20 years talking about what he's going to do.
But that's bluster. The question is, what do the candidates' tax plans mean for your wallet? The plans represent two very different philosophies. Trump cuts taxes across the board, but the wealthy and corporations enjoy the biggest reductions.
I call it trumped up, trickle down.
Clinton wants the opposite.
And I will tell you, Hillary Clinton is raising your taxes, folks.
That's not exactly true. She wants to raise taxes on the highest earners to help pay for small tax cuts for low to middle income Americans. Look at the impact on the 1% of earners. Trump cuts their tax bills by about $215,000. That's more than 200 times what the average middle income American would save on his plan. In fact, Trump's plan might actually end up raising taxes on millions of middle-income families. Clinton's proposal would have those high earners paying about $117,000 more. In fact, the 1% shouldered the bulk of Clinton's tax hikes.
I want to have a tax on people who are making $1 million.
And what about businesses? Trump slashes the corporate tax rate from 35% to 15%. The thinking there? The money companies save will go to hiring more people or making investments.
That's going to be a job creator like we haven't seen since Ronald Reagan.
Clinton doesn't touch the rate, but she'll try and close loopholes that currently let companies lower their taxes or avoid paying them altogether.
And I think it's time that the wealthy and corporations paid their fair share to support this country.
There are many more differences. For example, Trump would eliminate the so-called estate tax on inherited wealth, something you really only need to worry about if you're handing down more than a couple $1 million, while Clinton would expand it. But how much would these plans cost the American people? The Tax Policy Center estimates that Trump's proposal would add $7.2 trillion to the national debt over 10 years, while Clinton's plan wouldn't cost anything. In fact, it would decrease the debt by $1.6 trillion over the same amount of time. Trump's campaign calls this analysis catastrophically flawed because it doesn't count the economic benefits of his plan. But critics warn, when you raise the national debt, as some think Trump's plan would do, it would negate any positive impact. Christina Alessi, CNN, New York.